Every single Assassin's Creed protagonist has an origin story, a moment that transforms them from a normal person into a killer with a cause. But the very first assassin in this franchise, he was already one, and he blew it so badly that the game starts with him losing everything. So today, I'm breaking down how every protagonist became an assassin, starting with the one who had to do it twice, Altair ibn la Ahad. Most protagonists earn their hidden blade through tragedy. Altair is the only one who earns it, loses it, and has to crawl back from nothing. Born inside the Brotherhood's fortress at Masyaf, raised to kill from birth. By 24, he was the youngest master assassin in the Order's history, which made him insufferable. July 1191, Solomon's Temple. Altair breaks all three tenets of the creed in a single mission, loses an Apple of Eden to Robert de Sablé, and gets his brothers killed. Al-Mualim strips him from master assassin to novice. One mission. His redemption? 9 assassination targets across the Holy Land. Each kill forces him to question something he previously accepted without thinking. He stops being a weapon and starts asking why he's pointing. Then comes the real twist. Al-Mualim, his mentor, turns out to be using the apple to control everyone. Altair kills his own teacher, takes leadership of the Brotherhood, and spends the next 66 years reforming it from dogmatic killers into a philosophically questioning organization. He didn't just become an assassin, he became one twice and rebuilt the whole thing from scratch. But if Altair's story is about earning back what he lost, the next one is about a kid who never asked for any of this. Ezio Auditore dei Firenze. Ezio Auditore had zero idea he was born into an assassin family. For 17 years, he was just a Florentine noble kid getting into street fights and chasing women. Then, in 1476, his father Giovanni and brothers Federico and Petruccio were publicly hanged after a family friend named Uberto Alberti sold them out to the Templars. Just like that, everything was gone. He fled to Monteriggioni with his mother and sister, and his uncle Mario sat him down and basically said, "Surprise, we're all assassins." Mario trained him in swordplay, free running, the hidden blade, the whole curriculum. But Ezio wasn't thinking about ideology or ancient orders. He was thinking about Uberto Alberti's throat. And here's the thing about his first kill. There's no ceremony, no creed recitation, no ritual. He finds Uberto in the courtyard of Santa Croce and stabs him. Multiple times. With the hidden blade, while Uberto tries to justify what he did. Ezio doesn't care. He's a 17-year-old with a blade and grief, and that's it. But that raw, ugly vendetta eventually becomes something bigger. He dismantles the entire Pazzi conspiracy, saves Lorenzo de' Medici during the 1478 assassination attempt, and hunts conspirators across Tuscany. By 1503, he's mentor of the Italian Brotherhood, serving until 1513. The impulsive teenager from Florence became a reflective philosopher by Revelations, which is the purest revenge-to-mentor pipeline this franchise has ever produced. But if you think Ezio's path into the Brotherhood was painful, wait until you hear about a kid who watched his mother burn alive. Connor Kenway. Most assassins in this franchise lose something and then get handed a Brotherhood. Connor loses everything and has to build one from scratch. Born Radonhaneke Tan in 1756, he grows up in a Kanyenkehaka village. His mother is Kanyeti Darayo. His father is Hatham Kenway, Grand Master of the Colonial Templars, which is, not ideal. When colonial forces burn his village and his mother dies in the flames, Connor is left with nothing but a name he can't use and a people he can't protect alone. Here's where it gets lonely. After a vision from the Isu entity Juno, Connor seeks out Achilles Davenport, a retired mentor living in a rotting manor, presiding over a brotherhood that no longer exists. Achilles doesn't want a student. The man has given up entirely. But Connor doesn't leave. Eventually, Achilles gives him a Western name, a hidden blade, a tomahawk, and teaches him to fight a war nobody else will fight. Together, they rebuild the Colonial Brotherhood from literally 0 members. But here's the thing that makes Connor's story hit different. He spends the entire American Revolution fighting Templars, and the Grand Master he's trying to stop is his own father. Every kill brings him closer to a confrontation he doesn't want. His assassin identity isn't built on philosophy or revenge, it's built on survival. Nobody else was going to protect his people. So he did. If you think Connor had complicated family dynamics, wait until you meet his grandfather, who became an assassin for reasons that would make Connor's head spin. Edward Kenway. Edward Kenway is one of the rare Assassin's Creed protagonists who spends most of his story working against the assassins. Not by accident or doubt, he kills an assassin, steals his identity, and sells Brotherhood secrets to the Templars for cash. That's his grand entrance. Born in 1693, Wales, Edward starts as a privateer, but quickly becomes a full pirate during the Caribbean's Golden Age. In 1715, after a shipwreck near Cape Bonavista, he kills rogue assassin Duncan Walpole. Seeing Walpole's robes and secrets as a ticket to riches, Edward takes everything the Brotherhood guards and cashes in with the enemies. No ideology, no second thoughts, just the money. For most of Black Flag, Edward hunts the Observatory, a first civilization site he believes will make him rich. The West Indies mentor, Atabai, crosses his path many times, offering purpose and duty, but Edward always replies with variations on, "Where's the gold?" which is awkward for an assassin in robes. But here's the thing about pirate fantasies. They crash hard. Blackbeard dies, Mary Read rots in prison. One by one, everyone Edward cares about vanishes. He ends up with a ship full of ghosts and zero gold. His change isn't one dramatic moment. It's a slow burn of loss that turns "what can I take" into "what have I been doing." He finally joins the Brotherhood, stops the Templars, and hands over his hideout. Back in Britain, he's pardoned, becomes a master assassin, and co-leads the British Brotherhood. Then he fathers Haytham Kenway, who grows up to be a Templar Grand Master. So yeah, that redemption, kind of pointless. But if Edward found the creed through grief, wait till you hear about the man who sailed beside him and found it in a much darker way, Adewale. Most protagonists in this franchise stumble into the Brotherhood through tragedy, betrayal, or some drunken accident involving a dead assassin's robes. Adewale walked in through the front door because everything he'd already survived pointed him there. Born in 1692 in West Africa to enslaved parents, sold as an infant and brought to Trinidad, his entire early life was defined by people treating him as cargo. During a naval battle in 1715, he escapes alongside Edward Kenway and becomes quartermaster aboard the Jackdaw. Here's the thing, he's standing on the same deck as Edward, sailing the same waters, fighting the same enemies. But where Edward sees gold, Adewale sees systems. He watches piracy's economics up close and recognizes the same machinery that enslaved him, just wearing a different flag. When the West Indies assassins enter the picture, Adewale doesn't need convincing. Their philosophy of liberation isn't some abstract ideal for him. It's literally his lived experience translated into action. He leaves piracy, joins the Brotherhood formally, and becomes one of their leading operatives in the region. Years later, shipwrecked in Saint-Domingue with nothing, he builds an entire resistance movement from scratch, liberating enslaved people, targeting French colonial infrastructure, functioning as both assassin and maroon leader simultaneously. By 1758, he's aiding the colonial Brotherhood at the siege of Louisbourg before being killed in action. No inner conflict, no philosophical hand-wringing, just a straight line from chains to hidden blade to revolution. But if Adewale represents the creed's purest ideals, the next entry represents what happens when those ideals shatter completely. Shay Patrick Cormac. Most entries on this list are about people becoming assassins. This one's about why someone stopped being one. Shay Cormac was born in 1731 in New York to Irish immigrants, orphaned young, and pulled into the colonial Brotherhood by his childhood friend Liam O'Brien. Standard recruitment. He trained under mentor Achilles Davenport in everything you'd expect: parkour, stealth, naval combat, hidden blade techniques. By all accounts, a competent and loyal field operative. Then Lisbon happened. In 1755, the Brotherhood sends Shay to retrieve a precursor artifact beneath the city. He touches it, the ground splits open, buildings collapse, tens of thousands of people die in one of the worst earthquakes in recorded history. And Shay knows, with absolute certainty, that he caused it. That his organization told him to do the thing that killed all those people. Here's the thing, this isn't Templar brainwashing. This isn't a man being tricked. This is a man standing in rubble watching families burn and realizing his side did this on purpose because they wanted a shiny object. He goes back to Achilles, begs him to stop chasing these artifacts, and gets dismissed. So he steals the Voynich manuscript and a precursor box to prevent it from happening again. The Brotherhood brands him a traitor. His best friend wants him dead. They shoot him off a cliff. He survives. Haytham Kenway finds him. And from that point forward, Shay systematically dismantles the colonial assassins until the Brotherhood barely exists by 1760. Later, in 1776, he assassinates Charles Dorian in Versailles, orphaning a child who will grow up to become one of the most famous assassins in France, which is, poetic in the worst possible way. But speaking of that orphan, let's talk about what happened next. Arnaud Dorian's life is basically a French soap opera written by someone who hates him. Born in Versailles in 1768 to a French assassin father he knew nothing about. Raised by a high-ranking Templar he thought was just a nice man who took him in. His girlfriend? Templar. His entire social circle? Templars. The man had assassin blood pumping through his veins while eating dinner with the enemy every single night of his childhood. Here's the thing. His biological father, Charles, gets assassinated by Chez Cormac in 1776. Arnaud's 8 years old, orphaned, and François de la Serre, one of the most powerful Templars in France, just decides to adopt him, which is, not ideal for someone genetically predisposed to stabbing Templars. But the real gut punch comes in May 1789. Francois is murdered during an internal Templar coup at the Palace of Versailles, and Arnaud gets framed for the whole thing, thrown into the Bastille. The man has now failed to protect both his fathers, and he doesn't even understand why either of them died. In prison, he meets Pierre Balek, a master assassin who casually drops the revelation that Arnaud's real dad was one of them. Balek demonstrates a leap of faith off the Bastille walls into the moat below. Arnaud, a man with zero context for why anyone would do that voluntarily, follows him anyway. Desperate people do desperate things. He joins the Parisian Brotherhood not because he wants revenge or freedom, he wants absolution. Every rooftop sprint, every blade in the dark, it's all penance. Arnaud became an assassin because he couldn't live with the guilt of doing nothing twice. But if you think guilt is a rough motivator, wait until you meet someone who became an assassin purely because they were bored. Jacob Frye. Most assassins discover the creed through tragedy. Jacob Frye discovered it through boredom. Born in 1847 in Crawley, trained from childhood alongside his twin sister Evie, Jacob knew everything about the Brotherhood before he could shave. He just thought most of it was incredibly tedious. Here's the thing about Jacob. He's not rebelling against the Templars. He's rebelling against the assassins. The traditional Brotherhood wanted careful planning, measured responses, patience. Jacob wanted to punch industrialists in the throat. His father dies. The British Brotherhood does absolutely nothing, while Crawford Starrick's Templar Empire chokes London into submission, and the official assassin response is basically, let's wait and see. So in 1868, Jacob and Evie defy direct orders and head to London anyway. What does Jacob do when he arrives? Set up a hidden bureau? Establish intelligence networks? No. He starts a street gang. The Rooks, a full criminal syndicate that he runs like a Victorian fight club and calls it Brotherhood business, which is, not ideal from an operational security standpoint. His first major kill sets the tone. Rupert Ferris, an industrialist grinding factory workers into dust for Starrick's profit. Clean kill, righteous target, zero subtlety, that's Jacob in a nutshell. The problem is that liberating London borough by borough through gang warfare creates spectacular collateral damage. Every Templar he removes leaves a power vacuum that fills with chaos. Eventually, even Jacob has to admit that burning everything down isn't always a strategy. But if you think Jacob's approach to the creed is chaotic, wait until you see how his sister handles the exact same upbringing and arrives at the complete opposite conclusion. Evie Frye, every other assassin on this list, had to be dragged into the Brotherhood by tragedy. Evie Frye just read the manual and said, yes, this is exactly what I want to be, which honestly might be the most terrifying origin story of all. Born in 1847, same year as Jacob, same training under their father Ethan, same childhood in Crawley. But where Jacob treated the creed like a suggestion box, Evie treated it like scripture. She studied assassin history the way other people study for medical exams. Obsessively, thoroughly, with color-coded notes probably. After Ethan's death, both twins defy Brotherhood leadership and head to London in 1868. But here's the thing. While Jacob's off building a street gang and punching his way through industrial England, Evie is doing actual assassin work, tracking pieces of Eden, running intelligence networks, infiltrating Templar operations with surgical precision. Her primary target is Lucy Thorne, a senior Templar hunting the Shroud of Eden hidden beneath Buckingham Palace, and Evie dismantles Thorne's entire operation through patience, research, and tactical planning. No collateral damage, no burning down half of London first. She's the one working with established Brotherhood contacts, rebuilding the Creed's legitimacy through discipline rather than spectacle. The intellectual backbone holding everything together while her brother plays action hero. Evie didn't become an assassin because the world hurt her. She became one because she genuinely believed the philosophy was worth embodying. In an industrialized world that was leaving old traditions behind, she chose to be the person who kept the fire lit. But if Evie represents the Creed perfected through scholarship, the next assassin represents it being forged from raw, unimaginable grief, Bayek of Siwa. Every other name on this list became an assassin. Bayek built the thing from scratch. Born around 85 BCE, Bayek was one of the last Medjay of Egypt, a protector, a guardian of Siwa. He had a wife, Aya, a son named Kemu, and a life that made sense. Then in 49 BCE, masked members of the Order of the Ancients cornered him in a temple, forced a blade into his hands during a struggle, and Bayek killed his own son, not a Templar, not an enemy, his child. By his own hand. Here's what most people would do after that. Collapse. Disappear. Drink themselves into the sand. Bayek instead swore vengeance on every single person connected to the Order of the Ancients, and then actually followed through. He and Aya carved a bloody path across Egypt, dismantling the Order piece by piece. They allied with Cleopatra, believing she wanted the Order gone. Bayek served as her personal Medjay during the Alexandrine War. And then came the betrayal. Cleopatra and Julius Caesar didn't want the Order destroyed. They wanted its power redirected toward themselves. So Bayek and Aya did something no one had ever done before. In 47 BCE, they formally founded the Hidden Ones, a secret brotherhood built on discretion, protection of innocence, and opposition to those who would control humanity from the shadows. Bayek established the first bureau in Siwa, and spent his remaining years expanding the Egyptian Brotherhood under Roman rule. One father's grief became an institution that outlived empires, 2,000 years of assassins, and it all traces back to a man who couldn't save his son but refused to let that death mean nothing. But if Bayek built the Brotherhood, there's someone who walked a similar path centuries earlier without ever having a brotherhood to build. Cassandra. Cassandra is not an assassin. She predates the Brotherhood by about 4 centuries. But she does everything an assassin does, hunts a shadowy conspiracy, opposes the Order of the Ancients, fights for free will against authoritarian control. She just does it all without a hood or a creed to follow, which honestly makes her more impressive, not less. Here's the setup. Cassandra is a Spartan, daughter of Marine and the legendary Pythagoras. As a child, she's thrown from Mount Tagatos in a ritual that tears her family apart. That entire incident was engineered by the Cult of Cosmos, a secret organization that identified her bloodline as a threat and wanted every member of her family dead. By 431 BCE, Cassandra is living as a Misthios, a mercenary for hire, no family, no allegiance, no grand cause. Then she discovers the cult has their fingers in every war, every election, every power structure in the Greek world, and they're still hunting her family, so she hunts them back. Every masked member, every branch, systematically dismantled, but the cult isn't even her only problem. The Order of the Ancients also targets her because of her ECU hybrid nature and her alliance with Darius, a proto-assassin who killed Xerxes with the first recorded use of a hidden blade, and then comes the cosmic twist. Cassandra receives the staff of Hermes Trismegistus from Pythagoras after sealing Atlantis. The staff grants immortality. She lives from 431 BCE until 2018 CE, 2,400 years. One woman watching the entire Assassin-Templar War unfold from beginning to end, until she finally passes the staff to Layla Hassan. She never joins a brotherhood. One doesn't exist yet. But if you're looking for the spiritual prototype of everything the assassins would become, she's standing right there, 4 centuries early, doing it alone. But if Cassandra is the proto-assassin who never joins, wait until you meet the Viking who was handed the hidden blade and still couldn't commit. Eivor Varinsdottir. Eivor is the logical endpoint of everything this franchise has been building toward. She uses the hidden blade, she runs the bureau, she hunts every single member of the Order of the Ancients across England, and she never once calls herself an assassin. Here's the thing. Eivor's parents are killed in a raid led by Kjotve the Cruel when she's a child, and that trauma becomes the engine for everything she does afterward. She's raised as King Styrbjorn's foster child alongside Sigurd, who eventually travels to Constantinople and comes back in 872 with two hidden ones in tow, Basim ibn Ishaq and his apprentice Hetham. They bring the tools, the ideology, the target list. Eivor takes all of it and immediately puts it to work. When the Raven clan migrates to England, Eivor establishes Ravensthorpe as both a Viking settlement and a fully operational Hidden One headquarters. She campaigns across Anglo-Saxon kingdoms, forging political alliances and systematically assassinating Order leaders in every region. She's running intelligence networks, coordinating with Basim and Hytham, making tactical decisions about who dies and when. That's not an ally, that's a bureau leader. But she never swears the oath, never recites the creed, never formally joins. And honestly, that might be the most interesting statement the franchise has ever made. We started with Altair. Born into the Brotherhood, we watched Edward stumble into it by accident. We saw Bayek literally invent it. And now we have Eivor, who does all the work, carries all the weight, and simply never bothers with the title. Because the label was never the point. The work was. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, click the video on the screen now.